Hey everyone, how we all doing? Okay, so before we start, everything I say in this video is my opinion and mine alone. Please feel free to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. With that being said, please do not attack or harass anybody mentioned in this video. As I say every time, it's just not worth the time. And I'm sure you could be finding much more enjoyable things to do rather than attacking people who are clueless on the internet. Okay, so let's get into this story. This story started back a year ago. A year next month to be precise, with a little boy who was adopted by an American family from China. This little boy was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I would have loved to have brought him home myself. After 3 years, his family could no longer cope. Well, that's what I believe anyway. I wasn't there. I don't know the struggles they had to deal with. I do know the daily struggles I go through with my daughter, who we believe is on a spectrum like this little boy was. And I know how difficult it is to keep not only those safe, but the other children in the house too. So, yeah, so that happened a year ago. And the police got involved. Other police also announced that the little boy was safe, happy, and thriving. Now, in my mind, this should be the end of the story, because their adoptions failing every day around the world. But I don't see this person going out there and fighting for every adopted child. And do you know why he's not out there fighting for every adopted child? Because he wouldn't be able to. But this person's channel took off during the Micah Stafford situation. He made it his mission to get not only her, but also her husband off YouTube. And this YouTuber I'm talking about is the Dad Challenge podcast, also known as the Dad Challenge channel and the Burnt Out Pasta. Now, you should really keep in mind this guy is an ex-pastor. A pastor who was fired from his job. And he sits at his computer daily. He sits at his computer daily, what was the word? Belittling women, attacking women daily. And 9 times out of 10 it is women that he's going after. Telling them they should not be showing their own children on YouTube, whilst he himself is showing his 14-year-old adopted son on YouTube frequently. So, Josh, just quit it. As I was saying, there are families daily going through the struggles of deciding whether they carry on with their adoption or they try to do best by the situation they're in. And sometimes the best isn't always what you would expect. Sometimes the best is hopefully finding another home, another family. A place where the child can feel secure, can feel comfortable enough to wind down and to accept that that's where they live. And whether you're fostered, whether you're adopted, for that child who knows, like Huxley probably didn't even know what was going on half the time because he was so young, so young. And what I seen him going through was heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong, it was. And some of the videos that I watched were heartbreaking too. But that was a year ago. And if what the police said is right, then shouldn't we let it go? Shouldn't we let him get on with his life? Do we have a right to keep attacking people over and over and over, relentlessly attacking people? And there's a reason I want to bring this up today. I'm not just pulling it out of the air and saying, oh, Josh has been doing this for a year. No, something happened today. Something big happened today. Josh came on YouTube and declared to everybody that Micah had phoned the police. That's right. She'd had enough and she phoned the police. And do you know what? I don't blame her. I honestly don't blame her. He sits there tearing her apart bit by bit with his so-called snark. No, you're just a damn right bully. And I'm going to go into a little bit of the video that he did. And I'm going to go through it all because honestly, it's just more of his snark. More of his sort of, I'm better than you attitude. No. No, Josh, you're not better than Micah. If you can sit there and justify ripping her apart inch by inch, then you know better. And I honestly hope you see this. Because you were so far up your own backside, I'm surprised you can even put your head up straight. Right, so let me explain to you why I'm so against what Josh is doing. This little boy was given another chance with another family and not put back into the system. That is amazing. That is fantastic. There are so many children who they can't find a placement for. That is heartbreaking. And I was one of those children. I was one of those children they couldn't find a placement for, so I was in the system. I was in one of these community homes, being shipped from pillar to post every so often because they needed the bed in that area for someone else. Josh goes after these parents like he knows everything. Everything that goes on behind closed doors. Everything that family has done and gone through and struggled with. I don't even know what they went through. And I thank God that this little boy was taken and placed in a new home. Because what would the alternative be? You find this little boy in a ditch, swept up on the beach, in a river somewhere, accidentally. And how many families are now going to be affected by the... Do you know what, my head's going blank today. How many families will be affected by the hate driven at this family and will decide to do something other than what's best for that child, eventually hurting that child? Is this what Josh wants? Because that's the road we're going to end up going down. This is the road that his army of bullies are going to push families down. And these children are going to end up worse than they started. We're going to see these children on the front pages of newspapers, on the 9 o'clock news. And if I was responsible for that, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. How would I be able to live with myself if someone done that because of something I did to wage war against one family? A family who eventually did what was right for that child. Because they were not the suitable home for him. She'd never gone there in the first place. Should never have ever gone to that house in the first place. But he did. And there is nothing that anybody can do or say to change that. And if I could have gone out there and took his hand and brought him home with me, I would have, with every inch of me. But I've been through the system and I know what it is. And I know the heartache that it causes. Not only for the family, but the child too. But this one person wants this family put on the breadline. He wants them sleeping in the back of their cars. Or even worse, in the gutter. And why? Because they did what was best for this little boy. They couldn't handle it, so they did what they needed to do to find someone who could cope with having an autism child. It's not all rainbows and ponies. Raising children isn't easy, but it's fun and it's enjoyable, and you make so many memories that when they're older you're going to share. But that weren't the situation for this little boy. He wasn't where he was meant to be. And now I hope 100% that he is happy, that he is thriving, And I pray that he never sees any of these videos. Because he has to process all of this. And it's going to be hard enough without people like Josh. Right, so let's have a look at what Josh did put out there. I'm not going to go through it all, I don't know yet. Okay, for some reason Josh thinks it's amusing to have little hands taped into his sleeves. Whatever floats your boat. Okay, are we ready?
Welcome to the Dad Jones Podcast. My name is Josh. Thank you for joining me today on this very special episode. I'm so excited because not 20 minutes ago, I got a call from the police. You heard it here. Micah called the police on me. So I'm like,
Yeah, you're finding that so amusing, Josh, aren't you? Pathetic.
let's do this. I don't know what else to say. Like, we got to spin the wheel and we'll get this rolling. Okay, let's do it. Let's spin and dance, shall we? Yeah, baby.
I'm going to fast forward this part.
Trying to figure it out. I don't know what it is. But let's get on to the next one here. Let's dance.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you to whoever bought me these tiny hands. I appreciate it. I was going to try to do the whole vlog. I can't. My fingers can't do things. Can't press the mouse. I got things to do. So thank you for whoever bought me these fingers. Namaste. Blessings
It's
to
probably
you.
of someone's doll. Or of their child's doll.
There's a tape. My wife taped these on and... Uh-oh. Oh, man. All right. This is one of those sweaters you can buy at my store, so check it. All right, so here's the deal. I'm sitting on my couch, post-nap. Kids and I just watched The Prince of Egypt. It's great. I fell asleep because it's a Sunday afternoon nap, and that's what dads are supposed to do. And I'm sitting there, I wake up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And I get a call. My city's regional police department. I'm like, what did my kid do? First of all, I was like, someone's dead. One of my kids did something. They're dead. And the guy, and he picked up and hello. He's like, hi, is this...
So that's your first thoughts. The police call you, so you assume that someone's dead and your kids have done something. Fair enough.
Is this Josh? I'm like, yeah. He's like, do you know someone named Micah? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but I mean, like a Stoffer? He's like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, okay. This is so funny. So the guy goes on, he's like, okay, I just had to let you know, I got a complaint, I got a call from this lady talking about, do you do videos about somebody? I'm like, yes, I do. And he's still confused. I'm like, you know that this lady that called you is from the U.S.? He's like, I know, and it's just weird, and I thought I was going to follow up with this and just trying to figure out what's going on. She says you're harassing her videos and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, can you walk me through what's going on? And I'm like, absolutely. I'll walk you through what's going on. So I'm like, first of all, it's woken from a nap. So I'm like, is this happening? I'm a local guy.
This guy is vile. He really is vile.
I do this as a side hustle. He's like, is this your job? I'm like, it's sort of my job. Yeah, I get a little bit of money for this, and it's not my main job, but I do it. And he's like, okay, so you begin to consider yourself media? I'm like, yeah, I consider myself media, like a commentator. Not a journalist. I did not say those words. But he's like, okay, so walk me through what's going on. I said, okay, here's the story. So I do on YouTube what's called commentary or reactionary commentary, meaning I take someone's video and I break it down and I make fun.
And you rip them to shreds. That is just called keyboard warrior. Bully. a-hole.
And I said, and I do what's called snark. Basically, I make fun of them. And he's like, okay. And he's like, he's sort of with me at this point. I said, well, the person that just called you, do you not really know who she is? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go Google Micah Stauffer. And as he's doing that, I tell him, I'm like,
well, you see, Josh, just because you and I know who Micah is, people who don't watch sort of commentary channels, I don't even know that many people who do watch commentary channels or sort of a part of the beauty community and the commentary community and every other community there is on YouTube, because there are millions. And if I mentioned you to someone in passing, they would have absolutely no idea. If I mentioned Micah in passing, they'd have absolutely no idea. Just the way the world works.
she is a lady who is a family vlogger, a very rich family vlogger who made tons of money by adopting a kid from China. And then when life got a little bit too hard for them, they rehomed him and became one of the most hated internet people on YouTube. He's like, really? And I'm like, so this is what I do. And I told him what I did. My whole job here is to stop the exploitation of children online and everything. He's like, oh, that's cool. Start talking, we're having,
I could BS on that, Josh. You're not protecting anybody apart from your wallet, that is. You say that minors under the age of 16 can't consent to anything, yet your adopted son, who you got on your channel frequently, is how old? Is that 14 or 15? That's called a minor. That is definitely called a minor.
we're shooting the shit. And the guy's like, okay, well, that seems normal. He's like, I've never spoken to someone like you. I gave him the tea. I'm like, I just said, look, she's someone who is atrocious in what she's done. I'm an adoptive dad myself, and so this hit me home, and, this is what I do on the internet. So in order to bring awareness to these people, I snark on them. And he's with me, and all of a sudden I hear him just like, oh, NBC. The guy is Googling Micah at the same time we're talking, and he's like, oh my God. He's just reading the articles, he's like, oh my God. I'm like, so you see? So he's like, look, I have to ask you. If I ask you to stop doing videos about Micah, are you going to stop doing videos about Micah? And I said, absolutely not. No, I'm not. So I know my rights. He's like, good, thank you, no worries. I just had to ask you. Just, she called us, and I thought, why not check up on it? Again, I'm not sure the legality of it. If someone calls from the U.S. and says that this guy's making videos about me, making fun of me, I think he was probably calling me more to curiosity than anything else, and I'm fine with it. But I said, no, I'm not going to stop. And, if you look her up, she's one of the worst of the worst of the worst. And I'm like thinking to myself, Micah, really? Did you think what did you?
Actually, Josh, there are people so much worse than Micah Stauffer. Let's think of a few, shall we? The Yorkshire Ripper, Myra Hindley, Rose West, I think you'll find they're worse. A lot worse.
Think I was going to do? I think what Mike and James are trying to do, and obviously no proof of this, is they are actually trying to come back right now at this moment. I hadn't done a video in probably a month and a half or 2 months on them, and they're like, okay, the shit's starting to, starting to, it's starting to like fade out. People aren't going to hate this as much. I mean, Micah, do you honestly believe that if you did a video right now, even after someone didn't do a video about you for 6 months, that the entire
Well, that's not exactly right, Josh, is it?
your first 5 videos? Because if you do come back, Micah, I'm going to snark on every single one of your videos. I don't care how. I'm not going to let people forget what you did to H. What you and
That's not right here. It hasn't been a month or 2. When was your last video on Micah? Let me just check. Oh, 6 days ago. That's not a month and a half or 2. That's just 6 days.
James did to H. I'm not going to let it stop. So, do you honestly believe that this shit would just blow over? You guys are one of the most cancelable people in the world for what you did to another human being. A kid with autism that you adopted from China, brought here, made money off of, duct taped one of these tiny hands to that, by the way, and made fun of him and treated him like garbage, treated him like a second-hand citizen in your own house, used him for money, bought house.
Josh, your blood pressure. Seriously, your blood pressure. You need to chill. Thinking about finding a private investigator to hunt down a little boy is creepy. Now, you and I both know that you said that you wanted to get a private investigator. Only a couple of months ago, to be fair. Which I find not only creepy, but actually hilarious. The fact that you honestly wanted to go out there, hire a private detective to find out where this little boy is living. Time to move on, Josh. I'm sure there are other families who need saving. Since that is what you're so intent on doing, is becoming some sort of savior. You want to be sort of Prince Charming, riding in on your silver armor and your golden steed. Josh, just stop. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You're sitting there bringing up everything that you only assume was happening, from the little insights that you was getting into their lives. Leave him alone. Leave him move on with his life. Leave him put that part of his life behind him. Because when you're continuously putting this crap out there, he's going to be affected by it in the long run. Whether it be in school, whether it be in college. Because of you, people are going to say to him, oh, you're the little boy that was adopted and given up and talked about all over the internet. This is the life that you are setting up for this little boy, Josh. To have the mick taken out of him, how his adopted mummy didn't want him. Because people are cruel. Kids can be cruel. He has a lifetime in front of him. And as the officer said, he was happy, he was contented, and he was thriving. Leave him be. Stop forcing your perspectives onto this. Stop trying to make this what you want it to be. That you're going to rush in on your steed and you're going to rescue the little boy and you're going to run back home to Canada. It's not going to happen. Reality doesn't work that way. You're never going to be the savior who comes in and rescues this little boy because he's already happy. If he wasn't, we probably would have heard something about it by now.
houses. So we're going to talk about that today. Took PPP loans, okay? And then rehome this kid using Facebook. You think the internet's going to forget about that? And some people do think that. The people that are likely helping them are like, you know what, just let it blow over. You can come back and use your platform to make money. Micah, I'm never going to let the internet, I don't care what it takes. I don't care if you want to cancel me, whatever the case may be. You are enemy number one as far as family vlogging goes. You are the catalyst for this whole movement. For what you've done has exposed the entire movement for family vloggers. Thank you for that. So, in honor of that, today we're going to walk you through a little bit about what's going on in Micah's world. I've exposed a little bit about Micah.
So what he's just saying is, the only reason that he's out there attacking family vlogging channels is because of Micah. So every family channel out there will be attacked. You're being attacked for something that could not be controlled. For something that happened way before you knew that it even happened. But you were burdening the brunt of this whole situation. You are now his punch bag. Because Micah couldn't cope with her adopted son. I found one or two articles that I want to, it's more like the headline that I want to post in the article. I may put one or two articles at the end of the video for people to read, but let me just tell you what these articles said, and I'm going to stick them up here somewhere. Okay, so adoptive disruptions, a secretive misunderstood trend. Although there is no official UK statistics, local authorities, adoption agencies often don't keep track once adoption orders are signed and children leave their care. It's believed that around 3% of UK adoptions end in breakdown. Between 1 and 5% of US adoptions get legally dissolved each year. Some children are put up for a second chance adoption. That was just 3 headlines. These things happen regularly. For one reason or another, they cannot cope. They cannot do this. They have to do what's best. Not only for the child, but for them too. Josh adopted 2 of his children, and thankfully that worked out. Thankfully the problems haven't been so severe that he didn't have to say that I cannot cope anymore. If Josh had his own way, this family would be eaten out of trash cans. Now keep in mind this family has 4 children, 4 biological children. They would be sleeping in black sacks on the road, eating out of trash cans. There is nothing else I can add to this conversation. Apart from Josh, you need to back off. You seriously need to back off. It is so heartbreaking when a family falls apart like this. And nobody ever, ever wants this to happen. Nobody plans for this, ever. But it happens more times than you can imagine. And I've read some of the comments on Josh's video, and someone asked another person what they would do if they done it. And that person responded with, I don't know. I have the same feelings. I don't know what I would do. If life was that difficult and it was putting everybody's life, making everybody's life miserable, then there has to be some give somewhere, doesn't it? We can sit here shouting and screaming about what happened a year ago, or we can hope for the best for this little boy, that he is now in a family who love and adore him and treasure him. And that he's thriving. And he loves his life. And that is all you can hope for. That is all you can want for a child. So to Josh, let it go. Let this little boy have a life without having to see you bringing his name up month after month after month, year after year. How cruel do you think that is? To constantly be reminded about the heartbreak of a family not wanting you anymore. How can you live with yourself knowing what you're doing? One day this one little boy is going to be a big boy. And he'll be able to use a computer, and he'll be able to use a mobile phone. And he'll be able to Google things and look on YouTube. And what are the likelihoods of him coming across your channel? Please, 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 just stop. Let this little boy live without him needing to go online and see his face pop up, to see his name pop up, or even their name regarding him. Would you want that for your boys? And with that, people, I'm just going to call it a night, because this one really does get to me. And it's heartbreaking, just heartbreaking. And I'm going to end it with, I hope that this little boy is so happy right now. As happy as he deserves to be. Good night, everyone. Bye.